That one time, Miss
She called me over last Saturday and said, it's a stomach bug.
but yeah, was it 17, 16?
Said all day Monday. I was fine Tuesday night at 12:30 in the morning going into Wednesday. I'm laying in bed and I'm like, oh no.
Oh no, I'm not gonna just go back.
Rally, rally.
Oh no, oh no. Ran into the paper.
And that was the only deterrent.
That was Wednesday?
That was Tuesday to Wednesday. And then I could not get out of bed. I could not put my
One was down hurricane, right?
until Thursday night. And that was terrible. Stupid. I couldn't read, I couldn't do anything. So I could finally put my head up.
Now, this same day?
Something to 50.
Yeah.
Goodness.
I can't imagine why I got it. You know, so that was everybody in that family.
Yeah.
Good morning. My name is Sam Baumgarten, and I am your lay worship leader for today's service. I warmly welcome you to First Parish Unitarian Universalist Church in Bridgewater. I've been a member here for about 36, 37 years. I am not currently on any church committees, but as my archives will show, sitting in the pew, I was a member of the parish committee for several years and have all the minutes and agendas, and David's going to take them home and read them all for his afternoon entertainment. But I am involved, as many of you know, with the local citizens group, Bridgewater Communities for Civil Rights, and that takes up a good bit of my time. One of the things I like especially about First Parish, as I've noted before when I've been lay leader, is the opportunity to be a lay leader and to have a part in the service, and the fact that we as a group take care of our business and run our church as we see fit. Before we begin our time of worship, I have several announcements. One is that the Zoom programming will be a little funky today because Lori's not here, but she is apparently conducting Zoom from New York. Beth is here and will be taking care of joys and sorrows, so we will have some function for Zoom, maybe not quite as perfect as it usually is. Next week will be a church cleanup outside, an outside cleanup. That's Saturday, April 8th from 10 to 1. Please join in and help. If you have questions, please see Tom. And a slight conflict is that BCCR is also holding a standout next Saturday morning from 10 to 11 on gun control. So if you would like to express your feelings about gun control, please join us. We normally have about 10, 12 people who come to our standouts. It would be nice to have 25 or 30 standing on the common with signs demanding gun control laws and legislation. So that's next Saturday, 10 to 11. We meet on the corner right by Walgreens. And one more announcement from David Tedesco. In 2016, a number of historically themed pin-back buttons, like the one I'm holding in my hand, have a picture of First Parish on them, were produced for our 300th anniversary celebration. There's a small supply of buttons recently discovered during a closet cleanout. If you'd like one, they are on the front edge of the stage, and you can pick one up after the service. No more will be produced. So this is it. And Kat is going to bring us up to date on the pledge drive.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm happy to announce that our pledge total right now is $81,500. We are still $31,500 short of our goal, but I'm confident that we're going to meet that goal. The deadline was technically Friday to get all of your pledges in, so if you have not done so, please go get those in soon. Thank you.
Are there any other announcements? Then we'll begin our worship service, if I can stop dropping things. We have 5 pens here now. First Parish Bridgewater is a welcoming congregation. We proudly fly the rainbow flag to symbolize our welcome to people of every description. For families with young children visiting us this morning, we welcome you to actually join our first Sunday of the month chapel service, which is taking place right now in the Upper Parish Hall. So please put that on your calendar. First Sunday of the month, we have a special service. If you are new to First Parish, we hope you enjoy your experience this morning. We encourage you to sign the guest book at the rear of the sanctuary on the table, and make sure to include your email address to receive our newsletters. For newcomers joining us online, you can post a sign-up link in the chat. We invite all of you who are here in person to join us after the service for a time of fellowship in the Upper Parish Hall. The service, as I noted, is being hosted via Zoom, and it's being recorded for Bridgewater Cable TV. The camera is turned off to protect your privacy during the sharing of joys and sorrows. In the event of an emergency or evacuation drill, please leave the building through the main sanctuary doors to the rear, or if you need a ramp, through the School Street entrance to my left, your right, where a volunteer can help you. You are welcome here. Thank you for joining us. Your presence, whether in person or online, makes a difference. And now we will have our prelude. We will now have our chalice lighting, and Rachel will light the chalice while we recite the words. We light our chalice to mark this sacred hour. As we gather in this beautiful stars and sanctuary, both in body and spirit, we connect in the image of Please rise now in body or spirit, and let's join together in the affirmation of our covenant and the aspiration. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to speak the truth in love, and to help one another.
These are the words of Todd J. Taylor, a UU minister. Sadly, Reverend Taylor died this past February at the age of 93. We gather agreeing to seek together the most radical, that is, the root, implications of what it means to be religious. In its ancient meanings, the word religion speaks of binding together, suggesting that by taking the fragments of experience, by applying to them the reason of the mind and the aspirations of the heart, we can bring out of those fragments a unity of meaning and a focus of personal commitment. We gather to share in that adventure, to bind together that which is asunder in our lives, to heal the injured, to lift the sorrowing, to reaffirm the hopes of the heart and renew the promises of our most worthy commitments. I invite you now to rise in body or spirit to sing our first hymn, One More Step, number 168.
Now is the time in our service for sharing of joys and sorrows, those matters great and small that touch us, our families, and those we love. Those online may share joys and sorrows in the website's chat section. You may come forward, light a candle, share your joy or concern, or light a candle in silence.
My prayer this morning is called Out of the Flames by Sarah Eileen Lawal. Out of the flames of fear, we rise with courage of our deepest convictions to stand for justice, inclusion, and peace. Out of the flames of scrutiny, we rise to proclaim our faith with hope to heal a fractured and hurting world. Out of the flames of doubt, we rise to embrace the mystery, wonder, and awe of all there is and all that is yet to be. Out of the flames of hate, we rise with the force of love, love that celebrates our shared humanity. Out of the flames, we rise. Let us rise to sing our next hymn, We Shall Overcome, number 169, and we're singing just the first 2 verses.
Time to invite you to be generous. Our offerings for April are being shared with Kids to Camp. We are now in our 15th year of supporting this great project. This sends kids to Sheep Pasture Nature Camp, which is operated by the Natural Resources Trust of Easton. It has 154 acres of farm, forest, meadows, and streams that provide a perfect outdoor lab for children to learn about their environment and the important role they can play in protecting it. If you would like to make a specific gift to this charity, please write a check to First Parish with Sheep Pasture Nature Camp in the memo line. You may also donate online through the First Parish Church website.
Make your dreams come true. Don't give up the fight. You will be alright, 'cause there's no one like you in the universe. Don't be afraid of what your mind conceives. You should make a stand up for what you believe. And tonight we can truly say, together we're invincible. During the struggle, they will down. But please, please, let's use this chance to turn things around. And tonight we can truly say, together we're invincible. During the struggle, they will pull us down. But please, please, let's use this chance to turn things around. And tonight we can truly say, together we're invincible.
Thank you, Tony. In the latest UU Pocket Guide, published in 2019, Reverend Elizabeth Nguyen wrote a chapter titled, Our Work for Social Justice. In it, she wrote, the Unitarian Universalist feminist and peace activist Margaret Moseley called social justice work, moving mountains, one stone at a time. Margaret was born in Boston in 1910. She dreamed of being a nurse, but being African American, she was turned away from all the nursing schools in the city. She went on to help found Cooperative Way and Freedom House, and to head the anti-McCarthyism movement and the community church in Boston. I don't know if anybody has been there. I have. Yes. Reverend Nguyen continued, we move mountains, one stone at a time. As Unitarian Universalists, our journey is to transform the big and the small, to transform ourselves, and to transform the world. Universalism means no one is outside of the circle of love, and no one is disposable. We stubbornly seek out the spark of the divine in each other, no matter what. Interdependence means none of us is truly free until we are all free, and our thriving is bound up in the earth's thriving. We struggle for liberation from the violence of white supremacy, sexism, ableism, classism, and heterosexism. Our covenants mean that we make promises to our communities to honor love and justice above all else. Before I begin my sermon, I invite you to sing the first verse of One More Step once again. Please remain seated as we do so. As Reverend Elizabeth Nguyen wrote, we move mountains, one stone at a time. As Unitarian Universalists, our journey is to transform the big and the small, to transform ourselves, and to transform the world. Universalism means no one is outside of the circle of love and no one is disposable. Well, beloveds, I'm sure you'll agree that you and I alone can't expect to transform the whole world. Some days we think we might try. but that as individuals or small groups, we can only focus on moving the smaller stones. But through organizations like Mainspring House and Kids to Camp, we can move more stones in collaboration with others and have significant impacts close to home. Maybe we can even move some stones which are further away, stones like across the nation or in other lands. This is possible when joining with others of like mind and spirit. This can be done through organizations like UU Mass Action or the UU Service Committee. The worship theme for April, as suggested in the UUA Souls Matter packet, is resistance. Although no definition is given, I think it is clear that it means resisting oppression and means encouraging actions and programs of social justice. In the words of Sarah Eileen Lawal, it means to rise with courage of our deepest convictions, to stand for justice, inclusion, and peace. A very worthy theme, in my opinion, and I know for many of you in this congregation. To go a bit further, I say that being successful working for justice requires not just resistance to forces of repression, but also a great deal of determination and commitment, tenacity and teamwork. These qualities are so necessary for us to keep the flame of hope alive and to continue the hard work. Let us be reminded that together we can move those terrible forces that weigh our society down like heavy stones. Just a word of caution. I think that you and I here in this small congregation must be selective and pick our battles carefully to move these heavy stones. Otherwise, it's too easy to get discouraged and burnt out. Yet I am encouraged by what I've witnessed this congregation do since I became a member some 13 years ago. I've seen the spirit of hope and commitment. As you heard Sam announce, our April charity is Kids to Camp, the program that raises money for scholarships for the Nature Resources Trust, or NRT, and the Sheep Pasture Nature Camp in Easton. Way back in October 2008, the Green Sanctuary Subcommittee decided to support this program as its environmental justice project. That winter, in 2009, it began asking for donations from the congregation. This earned it a Green Sanctuary designation from the UUA in 2010. We have continued to support Kids to Camp for almost 14 years. Because of your generosity since 2009, this congregation has provided camp scholarships to attend the Sheep Pasture Nature Camp for over 60 children. This means sponsoring as many as 5 children a year, giving them what I imagine must be a life-changing experience. Many children whom you have sponsored are from Brockton, inner city kids who otherwise might never have been able to experience the forest, ponds, fields, and animals in the wild at this nature sanctuary. In addition, these campers learn how we must protect and heal our environment to keep our planet thriving. Since some of us from this church, including Ginger Irish and myself, went to Sheep Pasture for a guided tour some 5 years ago, it was before the camp season had begun. The grounds were lovely, and the camp program, which the guides described, it was really quite impressive. The Kids to Camp program is where we are indeed moving one stone at a time, adding up to 60 children so far since 2009. Just recently, Ginger learned from the camp director that our church is their longest-term supporter. Imagine that. Now, that's an awesome commitment. At its worship service on April 16th, I hope that the Green Sanctuary Committee will say a bit more about the Kids to Camp program and their continuing support for it. The other commitment I want to talk about this morning is the Mainspring House and Evelyn House lunch program. Here we are turning stones into nourishment by supplying some very poor people with food and drink once a month. Here is a story as told to me by Betty Gilson, who began the church's lunch program. Betty wrote, "Actually, I started it in 1997. I just found that date in the annual report for June 1997 from Vernon, who was the convener for the Social Justice Committee at that time. But it started because of Bob Gilson. He always asked me when I came home from the Social Justice Committee meeting what we had done at the meeting. One night I said that we were talking about doing lunches for Mainspring House. He said we'd been talking about it for a while and that we should just do it. So next day I called and they told us that they needed 70 lunches for the first Tuesday of each month. We started right away with a great volunteer group. We had helped out on dinners a few times, but it wasn't at a convenient time for us. So this seemed like a better fit. It has now morphed into 75 lunches for Mainspring and 25 for Evelyn House on the first Thursday of each month. Betty went on to describe our present involvement. There is one couple from outside the church who donate 15 complete lunches, fruit and beverage every month. From church, there have been 20 of us who have helped in various ways at one time or another. That is making lunches, donating fruit or beverages, doing delivery service, making cookies, or donating money. Of these, 9 are members of one or more of our Social Justice Committee group. Quite an amazing crew. Thank you, Betty, for this description. Just in case you are all not aware, Mainspring House is located in downtown Brockton and provides emergency shelter for individual adults ages 18 or older. Evelyn House in Stoughton provides emergency shelter for 16 families, for mothers and children. I love this history. We now donate 100 lunches a month. Many people from this church and even a couple from outside the church are involved. All these folks show a commitment to justice by working to end hunger. Not only do we give away food and drink, time and money, but I think we get back something as well. That's a sense of making a difference in the world over the long haul since 1997. This means we're in our 26th year. Think how many meals that means. I think we also nurture our own sense of community. On the first Thursday of each month, since the COVID pandemic began, we drive our cars to Betty's house in Bridgewater. Some of us just drop off our individual donations, briefly greet our friends, and go. Then Laurie Lessner or Bob Messing and David Wilson load up their vehicles and drive over to drop off the lunches at the shelters. But some of us may come in and sit down on the folding chairs in Betty's garage with the door open, and we chat and chat. Lately, Betty has prepared us an urn of coffee and set out mid-morning snacks and a table. It's a heartwarming community-building event. There's more to know about the parent organization, Father Bills and Mainspring. This organization is more than about feeding the hungry. This summary is posted on their website. For 4 decades, Father Bills and Mainspring, or FBMS, a registered 501c3 charitable organization, has been a leading innovator in the fight to end homelessness. We serve more than 4,000 people per year in 41 cities and towns on the South Shore and across southern Massachusetts. Our church's Social Justice Committee learned a few days ago about a project Mainspring House has begun in Brockton. It's to build affordable housing for the homeless in the area. This is modeled after a housing project that Father Bills runs in Quincy. It will be more than just apartments. There will be also support services, helping residents gain the skills they need to lead better and healthier lives. On the Father Bills Mainspring website, I found the following statement. Our mission is to end and prevent homelessness in southern Massachusetts with programs that provide emergency and permanent housing and help people obtain skills, jobs, housing, and services. We help people who are struggling with homelessness or are at risk of homelessness achieve self-sufficiency. Next week, Betty is planning to go on a guided tour of the new Brockton site on Manley Street by the organizers. Unfortunately, I have a dental appointment and can't go. But I'm sure Betty would appreciate someone going with her, and the invitation is in this week's bridging. Our generous contribution toward the Mainspring House Lunch program over the years, along with those of a multitude of other supporters in southeastern Massachusetts, have kept the program strong and made this next step, this much-needed housing in Brockton, possible. As Reverend Nguyen wrote, our covenants mean we make promises to our communities to honor love and justice above all else. I say we here at First Parish in Bridgewater are truly keeping our promises and our commitments. We have been doing so for a very long time. I praise all the social justice work which we have done together and continue to do so with deep thoughts and feeling, for we are moving mountains one stone at a time. Amen. Blessed be, and may it be so. I invite you now to join in our closing hymn, The Fire of Commitment, number 128 in your teal hymnal. Please rise in body or spirit.
When the Lord
The words "to bless the world" is more than an act of will, a moving forward into the world with the intention to do good. It is an act of recognition, a confession of surprise, a grateful acknowledgement, and in the midst of a broken world, unspeakable beauty, grace, and mystery abide. None of us alone can save the world. Together, that is another possibility waiting. These are the words of Reverend Rebecca Ann Parker.
It's now time to extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame,
but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Our time for worship has ended, and the time for fellowship begins. I'd suggest maybe you chat for a minute or two here before you go inside, since we're a little early. So move slowly.
Saturday.